Why is the default gaming hero always a likeable but generic plucky quipster voice acted by Nolan North? When they're not ripped white blokes with a shaved head, character designers mix it up by giving them brown hair. It always wound me up. In a video game, you have the opportunity to create literally anything. The world doesn't need to be bound to the laws or constraints of our world. So why do character designers insist on these bland, everyman human characters in shades and beige t-shirts, probably holding a Glock and walking away from an explosion with their head down? You could create a world where they breathe marshmallow and move with strawberry lace tendrils. Your main character could be a shy minotaur who wants to be with a mermaid. Your main character could literally be a liquid if you wanted. But thankfully, not every game protagonist is a Cole McGrath or an Aidan Pierce. The guy from Resistance, Fall of Man. I want to say Brad Navy Stone? Is that the name? Some heroes are truly unique, and here are just a few of them. I am Kirsten from WhatCulture, and these are 10 weirdest playable video game characters ever. Number 10, A Boy's Imagination, Toy Commander. Toy Commander on the Sega Dreamcast was the game that taught me what the word mezzanine meant. It was also a really inventive game, with an intro that contextualizes the entire game. A little boy running downstairs, toy aeroplane in hand, doing dive bombs and pretending to fire a pencil like a missile. Then the boy fades away as we see as he imagines it, all the actions occurring independent of him, with the toys becoming the heroes. Each level of Toy Commander has a real childlike charm to it. Playing as the toys that the boy in turn is playing with, you'll assault cereal box forts on the kitchen table, which come to life, firing cap gun anti-air and elastic band flak cannons. Whether you're a toy truck with a pencil sharpener anti-aircraft gun sellotaped to it, or a helicopter bringing a water balloon to put out a forest fire in the house's fireplace, there's always a degree of whimsy and the boy's unique spin to the unfolding events. Do yourself a favour though, don't bother with the vastly inferior follow-up Toy Racer. You only imagined that one. Number 9, A Stretching Goldfish in ROBOCOP Armour, James Pond, ROBOCOD. It's actually pretty shocking, in hindsight, how much James Pond ROBOCOD got away with being ripped to shred for copyright infringements. Not only did it straight up lift visual elements and catchphrases direct from popular films from the time, but it also had real-world products and environmental props, such as McVitie's penguin biscuits as stage obstacles. But maybe those elements were, in part, why James Pond did as well as it did. A quirky platformer where you play as a quip-happy fish during a time where mascot platformers were 10 a penny. The titular armoured goldfish hero has an interesting, almost arbitrary ability to stretch his torso directly upwards to reach areas above him. I've had plenty of goldfish in my time, and none of them could stretch their spines to enormous lengths. Well, not voluntarily anyway. ROBOCOD could also grow wings to fly with aid of a power-up, or drive a flying bath, if he wants to, because why the hell not, eh? Clearly we're not going for real-world feasibility here. Penguin biscuits aside. Number 8, a mosquito, Mr. Mosquito, Mr. Mosquito. Mr. Mosquito is a mosquito, and not, as I thought, a small Spanish mosque. If you could infer that from the name, well done, Moriarty. Your powers of deduction have bested my own. The aim of the game, naturally, is to sate the little guy's bloodlust whilst trapped in a family's home. Not satisfied with just transferring malaria to one of the family, though, Mr. Mosquito needs to probiscicate the whole family in order to fulfill his bloody needs. Looking like a Power Rangers baddie and flying like the plane from Grand Theft Auto 3, our hero has to observe the family's set routines throughout the day and wait for one to expose some skin, whereupon he must land, stab, and gorge. If he gets too greedy, the human will notice and crush his tiny exoskeleton, spraying the newly acquired blood everywhere. I might be dramatising a little bit here, but they do get pretty violent towards the wee man. This game was unique for its time, having both a set day routine for each character you could observe, as well as the rather fab ability to bite a lady's naked boobie in the bath. Truly ahead of its time. Number 7, KURURIN, KURURIN. I know my aeronautics. Did you say that in Star Fox Starwing when Peppy says do a barrel roll, you're actually doing an aileron roll? It's true. Peppy's senile as hell. Another thing people usually get wrong, helicopter propulsion. Helicopters stay aloft not because their rotors move incredibly fast, but because they move clockwise extremely sluggishly, rotating around a small orb housing a penguin creature. Unless they hit a bouncy wall, whereupon their rotation changes. Seriously guys, science. Look it up. KURURIN, thankfully then, gets it right in this regard, playing as a penguin alien thing named KURURIN, housed inside a glass orb with a slowly rotating plastic rotor. It's your job to pilot the craft through increasingly tight and tricky environments. The thing is, KURURIN's gaudy craft is as brittle as my osteoporotic skeleton. Seriously, try punching it. The cracking sound is well addictive. And 2 collisions with a wall is normally enough to explode the wee guy's vehicle and hopes instantly. As a launch game for the Game Boy Advance, KURURIN was brutally overlooked in favour of the more obvious Mario-flavoured choices, but it's worth revisiting now, if for nothing else, its dedication to the principle of translational lift. Number 6, a monkey trapped in a plastic sphere. Super Monkey Ball. It's difficult to remember, given that Super Monkey Ball is quite a famous property now, that whilst the concept of the gameplay is fair enough, the main characters are pretty messed up. Effectively taking Marble Madness and saying, hey, imagine how much better this game would be with animal cruelty. Super Monkey Ball sees several different simians trapped inside plastic spherical prisons as the world around them twists and turns, thrusting them into spikes, hammers, pitfalls, and all manner of additional situations Peter would froth at. Hell, one of the monkeys you can torture is a baby monkey inserted into a plastic ball and used in a hellish game of enormous monkey golf. In the original few games at least, it seemed like I, Mimi and co were all placed there against their will, with no real autonomy of their own, but as the series progressed they were graced the ability to jump, and appeared to want to get into the plastic gachapon bubbles of their own accord, to go on their little adventures, which is probably one of the strangest examples of Stockholm Syndrome I've ever seen. Number 5, a humanoid star with hands. RISTAR. Whatever Sonic team was smoking was clearly pretty potent stuff, because they weren't satisfied with just having a supersonic speed, azure-toned woodland beast who fights an evil avoid genius. They wanted to go weirder. RISTAR is one of those odd games that's enjoyable to play and listen to, the soundtrack is excellent, but difficult to comprehend how it was conceived as a concept. A planet's elder is kidnapped by a mind control mastermind, so everyone prays for a hero to save him, as you do, leading to the star goddess awakening and sending one of her children, the titular RISTAR, to the rescue. A tiny star with stretching arms and creepy Mickey Mouse gloves. Level design and overall visuals play similar to Sonic the Hedgehog, but the gameplay is distinctly different. RISTAR's offensive ability is to stretch out his arms, grope whatever is in front of him, and rapidly slam his body into theirs to murder them on impact, which is, I'm told, the way a man makes love to a woman. RISTAR may do unspeakable things with those hands, but he adorably waves his finger at the camera at the title screen just like Sonic, so how bad can he be? Number 4, a poltergeist. GEIST. Playing the dead guys is pretty frowned upon, especially at the Sunderland crematorium, who just won't lighten up. Guys, only those 3 times it happened, alright? Lighten up. But playing as dead guys, well, that's a different urn of ashes, my lovelies, because that's some of the most fun you can have this side of purgatory. GEIST was a GameCube exclusive with, at the time, very little fanfare for its ambitious concept. On an ill-fated mission, the scientist John Raimi's team is murdered by a malevolent wandering soul, and his spirit is wrenched from his body. From there, Raimi discovers he can possess pretty much any object or creature he comes in contact with, so long as they are sufficiently startled. There's something uniquely charming about possessing a dog's food bowl to scare the crap out of it, which can then be used to torment soldiers so you can possess them. Wee glances of the host's memories could also be seen when you possess them, which was a terrific storytelling tool, and answering that long life question, what does a fire extinguisher think about? Nothing. Turns out, it's nothing. Number 3, a droplet of water. DEWY'S Adventure. There are few truly great little overlooked unconventional games on Nintendo's Wii. LEDs, Elebits, Zack and Wiki, Ivy the Kiwi, and DEWY'S Adventure. Each of these games have things in common. They couldn't be played on any other console due to hardware USP, and they each feature uncommonly found protagonists. But the king amongst them in this regards is DEWY'S Adventure, where you play as a plucky bit of precipitation. DEWY, a wee blob of sweat imbued with the power of the Tree of 7 Colours, sets out on his adventure to find a bunch of magic fruit, which absolutely sounds like the sort of thing I'd do after a skinful of whiskey. By tilting the Wii remote, Dewey dribbles all over the place, but can also heat or cool the temperature of the environment to become steam, or ice, a pretty handy power it turns out when trying to find magical fruits. Weirder still is that in America, Dewey's Adventure came with a ton of in-game advertisements for Nestle Aquapod still water, presumably what Dewey is actually made of. Number 2, the Daytona US car Hornet, Fighter's Megamix. I was about to say, playing as a car is fine in a racing game, but then it made me think, are we playing as the car or the driver of the car in a racing game? The driver is really just the car's player anyway, isn't it? That would make me the controller of a driver in a racing game, a player's player. Mate, now my insomnia has yet more fuel. Stupid asides aside, playing as a car doesn't sound too mental until you put it in a fighting game. And I don't mean a Ford Escort on 4 wheels running Ryu over repeatedly. I mean standing upright using its wheels as fists. Fighter's Megamix is one of those absolutely bonkers crossover fighting games that I'm honestly glad I didn't dream up after eating a ton of Gruyere before bed, because it includes everything from fighting staples, Virtual Fighters Akira and Fighters Vipers Raxel, right through to Deku, a cowboy green bean, and Bark, a polar bear from Sonic the Fighters. Still, no other fighter is as odd as Hornet, the car from Daytona, USA. Or should that be the guy driving Hornet? Number 1, an animated 7-Up logo. Cool spot. If you were alive and impressionable in the 1990s, there's a chance you encountered any number of bright, colourful, anthropomorphic mascot characters, each one more totally tubular than the last, and no doubt trying to sell you something luminously coloured and chemicals flavoured. One of the oddest sidetracks to this is that of a lot of brands started making totally radical games, thinly veiled attempts to ingrain their mascots, and subsequently their brands, in kids' minds. If their favourite game had a character in it who eats McDonald's to get their health back, and yes, McDonald's Global Gladiators / McDonaldland are also games that exist, the chances are you'll sell more product. So enter 7-Up, whose mascot was a red dot. Just a dot. You'd think it'd be too tough to make a dot endearing, but they managed it. Wearing black shades and some hot kicks, Cool Spot was born, an unholy creation who surfs on 7-Up bottles and inexplicably fires fizz from his hands. With such incredible adventures as getting through an attic without being killed by vermin, Cool Spot is a truly incomprehensible adventure that I recommend to anyone who disbelieves the phrase, "you can sell anything to somebody." And that's our list. What do you think of these weird playable video game characters? Leave us a comment below and let us know. If you liked this video, give it a thumbs up, and if you haven't already, click that subscribe button. But for now, I have been Kirsten from WhatCulture, and I will see you in the next video.